Miss Piggle Wiggle by Betty MacDonald. And it's MacDonald. M-A-C MacDonald. For Anne, Joan, Mary, Sally, Heidi, Darcy, Frankie, and Stevie, who were perfect angels and couldn't possibly have been the inspiration for any of these stories. There are 8 chapters. Chapter 1, Miss Piggle Wiggle herself. I expect I might as well begin by telling you all about Miss Piggle Wiggle so that whenever I mention her name, which I do very often in this book, you will not interrupt and ask, "Who is Miss Piggle Wiggle? What does she look like? How big is she? How old is she? What color is her hair? Is her hair long? Does she wear high heels? Does she have any children? Is there a Mr. Piggle Wiggle?" Mrs. Piggle Wiggle lives here in our town. She is very small and has a hump on her back. When children ask her about the hump, she says, "Oh, that's a big lump of magic. Sometimes it turns me into a witch, other times into a dwarf or a fairy, and on special occasions it makes me into a queen." The children are all very envious of the hump because besides being magic, it's such a convenient fastening place for wings. Miss Piggle Wiggle has brown sparkly eyes and brown hair which she keeps very long, almost to her knees, so the children can comb it. She usually wears it on top of her head in a knot unless someone has been combing it, and then she has braids, or long wet curls, or long just hanging with a jeweled crown or flowers on top. One day I saw her digging in her garden wearing the jeweled crown and with her hair billowing down her back. She waved gaily and said, "I promised Betsy," Betsy is one of her children friends, "that I would not touch this hair until she came home from school." And she went on with her digging. Miss Piggle Wiggle's skin is goldy brown and she has a warm, spicy sugar cookie smell that is very comforting to children who are sad about something. Her clothes are all brown and never look crisp and pressed because they are used for dress-up. She wears felt hats the children poke and twist into witches' and prairies hats, and she does not mind at all. Sunday morning she takes one of the hats off the closet shelf, gives it a few thumps, pulls it firmly down fore and aft, and wears it to church. She wears high heels all the time and is glad to let little girls borrow her shoes. Mrs. Piggle Wiggle has no family at all. She says that her husband, Mr. Piggle Wiggle, was a pirate, and after he had buried all of his treasure in the backyard, he died. She just has herself and Wag, her dog, and Lightfoot, her cat. The most remarkable thing about Miss Piggle Wiggle is her house, which is upside down. It's a little brown house, and sitting there in its tangly garden looks like a brown puppy lying on its back with its feet in the air. Miss Piggle Wiggle says that when she was a little girl, she used to lie in bed and gaze up at the ceiling and wonder what it would be like if the house were upside down. And so when she grew up and built her own house, she had it built upside down just to see. The bathroom, the kitchen, and the staircase are right side up. They are more convenient that way. You can easily see that you could not cook on an upside-down stove or wash dishes in an upside-down sink or walk upside-down stairs. Or walk up upside-down stairs, excuse me. In the living room of her house is a large chandelier, and instead of being on the ceiling, it is on the floor. Of course, it is really on the ceiling, but the ceiling is the floor, and so it is on the floor, and the children turn on the lights and then squat around it pretending it's a campfire. Miss Piggle Wiggle says that her chandelier is the only one in town which is put to any real use. Her bedrooms all have slidey boards in them because if you will look up at your attic ceiling, you will see that a slanty ceiling, when turned upside down, makes a fine slidey board. Also, all the wall lights are very close to the floor and handy for the small children. For the first 5 or 10 years after the house was built, Miss Piggle Wiggle climbed in and out of her rooms over the high doorways, but now she has little steps which are just the thing to practice jumping. She gives the children chalk so they can mark on the rug how far they jump. Nobody knows how old Miss Piggle Wiggle is. She says that she doesn't know herself. She says, "What difference does it make how old I am, and when I shall never grow any bigger?" Miss Piggle Wiggle's dog, Wag, has puppies every once in a while, and so she keeps a long list of names of children who want them on the blackboard in her kitchen. For Lightfoot the cat's kitten, she has a long waiting list on the blackboard in the dining room. Miss Piggle Wiggle's backyard is full of big holes where small boys dig for Mr. Piggle Wiggle's buried treasure, and her front yard is full of flowers which the little girls pick, jam into vases, and place about her living room or carry to their teachers. Every child in town is a friend of Miss Piggle Wiggle's, but she knows very few of their parents. She says grown-ups make her nervous. For the first year after she built her house, Miss Piggle Wiggle lived there all by herself, except for Wag and Lightfoot, and she was very lonely.